Have you ever thought about completing the Pokédex and as soon as you had to do something that took too long or got hard, you just gave up because some of these things are ridiculous? Like knowing you could find a Doug Trio in Diglett's cave and not find one? I was there for a whole hour, what do you mean? Or when you're at the Safari Zone finally finding a Chansey that took 40 minutes to find just for it to run away after one ball? That alone is enough to make me quit. Anyways, with that, today is the day I complete the Livingdex to Pokémon LeafGreen, and this is how it went. The first thing we had to do is beat the game so that we can have access to the whole map without worrying about anything. Nah, who am I kidding? The real reason is because if I play the game and catch Pokemon at the same time, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere and then I stop playing. I don't know why. I think it's because I like doing things one at a time. But anyways, we beat the game with Slowbro, Victory Bell, Clefable, Charizard, Raichu, and Hitmonlee. We still have to get their other forms, but I'll let future me handle that. Now that the game is complete, it's time to find a Pokemon that knows False Swipe. And after doing a little bit of research, we get a Marowak that we named Jelly Donut. Now you might be asking, why Marowak? Well, we didn't really have a lot of options. Anyways, let's get started. On Route 1, we can catch a Rattata and a Pidgey. Then in Viridian City, there's this little water area, and if we use a good rod, we can get a Goldeen, Poliwag, and Magikarp. It took like 8 encounters before we could find a Magikarp, and that's surprising. You would think that would be the first thing we would find. With a Super Rod, we get a Slowpoke, and not too long after, we find a Gyarados, and we were pretty close to catching it, but it got confused after using Thrash, knocking itself out. We keep searching and get 2 Poliwhirls instead, and then not too long after, we run into Gyarados again, and we catch it no problem. On Route 22, we catch a Mankey and a Spearow. And in Viridian Forest, our first encounter ended up being a Pikachu. I thought for sure this was gonna take a couple minutes, but I guess not. After that, we catch Caterpie and Metapod, and then Weedle and Kakuna in that order. Crazy. I will say, it did take a couple encounters before I ran into a Kakuna though. In Pewter City, if we go all the way to the top right, there's this building we can access with Cut, and inside we can get an old Amber which holds a fossil Pokemon. But we can't revive it just yet, so it's just gonna rot in our book bag for a bit. On Route 3, we can get a Jigglypuff, Nidoran female, and our first annoying Pokemon, Nidoran male. This thing took so long to find, it was ridiculous. It took over 50 encounters just to find one. Look at this. Finally! Oh my goodness, man. That one actually took so long to find. With that, we can head to Mount Moon to get our Geodude, Zubat, Paris, and the one that annoyed me the most, Clefairy. Not because of how hard it is to find, but because I wasn't even looking for it. It just magically appeared. When I played through it the first time, it was not this easy to find, I swear. On Route 4, the only thing in the grass we can get is Sandshrew. That took about 10 encounters to find, and I feel like it's harder to find compared to Ekans, but maybe I'm just crazy. In the water, we can find a Krabby and a Horsey with a Super Rod. On Route 24 near Nugget Bridge, we find a Bellsprout and 2 Abras that were really easy to get. On Route 5, just above Cerulean City, we catch a Meowth, and yeah, that's about it. In Route 6, we get another Poliwhirl that we're gonna need for later. In Vermilion City, we could get a Staryu with a Super Rod, and on Route 11, we get a Drowsy and another Spearow, and again, we're gonna need that for later. In Diglett Cave, we find a Diglett and no Doug Trio, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I spent an hour here and nothing. So I gave up for the time being, and I never been so defeated. We'll be back, I swear. On Route 10, we get a Voltorb, and then at the power plant, we get Magnemite and Magneton. Something that I found funny is that in order to get to the power plant, you need Surf, and since I didn't put a repel on, I was running into Tentacles this whole time, and I didn't realize that I needed one, but I didn't think about it until later. In Rock Tunnel, we catch an Onix, and it took a bit of find, but it wasn't anything crazy, but catching it was. It took like 7 Great Balls before it got caught, and I think that's the first time a Pokemon would not stay in the ball. And surprisingly, Machop was a bit harder to find too. I was running into everything but Machop, but after a while, we did find one. In Lavender Town, we go to the Pokemon Tower where we get a Ghastly and a Cubone. And I don't know about you, but I didn't know you could find a whole Cubone here. That's crazy. I played this game so many times and not once have I ever ran into a Cubone before. Also, after 20 or so encounters, we find a Haunter, and I thought it was going to be a bit easier to find, but my main concern was just trying to catch it, since we can't hit it at all. But it used Curse, so that was more than enough, and we caught it no problem. On Route 12, we could catch a Venonat and a Weeping Bell. I also didn't know you could catch a Weeping Bell here. On Route 8, we catch 2 Vulpixes before heading to Celadon City, and once we get there, there's 2 Pokemon we can get, being Eevee at the back of the building and a Porygon in the game corner, but we're not going to get him just yet because I have no money. I spent it all on Pokeballs. On Route 16, we can get a Doduo and a Raticate. The Raticate took some time to find, maybe 30 or so encounters, but other than that, it was easy to catch. We also can get a Snorlax that was also no trouble at all. I'm just lucky they put 2 in the game because the first time I ran into one, I ran away as soon as I encountered it. Near Fuchsia City on Route 15, we can get a Ditto and another annoying Pokemon being Pidgeotto. It took me like 9 minutes to find one and it used Whirlwind, causing it to flee. That sucked. It didn't get any better because I didn't find one until 20 minutes later. But I will say it wasn't as bad the second time. In Fuchsia City, we can get a Seaking and that's it. With that, we can head to the Safari Zone and man, this was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. I never been more bored, excited, scared, lucky, and the most impatient in my life. Too bad there was more bad than good, and I do not want to come back here ever again. So there's 4 sections being center, east, north, and west, and all of them suck. They all had that one Pokemon that would not stay in the ball. But let's take a step back and start with the center. We caught 1 Rhyhorn, 2 Executes, and those were the easiest to find and catch. Then the ones that were a little bit harder to find like Nidorino and Nidorina, but were still easy to catch. And then we had the harder ones like Pinsir, which would run away after throwing 1 ball at it. It wasn't too bad, it only took us 4 tries, so not bad at all. And by far the hardest one to catch was Parasect. It would not stick around for nothing. If I threw bait at it, it ran. If I threw rocks at it, it ran. And that's it. It fled 11 times before we were able to catch one, and I thought this sucked, but it only got worse. On the east side, the only thing we can find is Kangaskhan, the only problem being, it's nowhere to be seen. I thought you had a 1 in 20 chance in finding one. I went 40 minutes with nothing, but it wasn't too bad because something crazy happened. Oh! Dude, I just got a shiny Nidorina. No, quit playing. Dude, let's go. Ooh, that was so scary. Now, how cool is that? The sad thing is, this happened 2 days before Safari Week, so unfortunately, it doesn't count, but I don't care. I got a shiny Nidorina, that's good enough for me. 2 minutes later, I ran into Kangaskhan for the first time, and it stayed for 4 turns, and I still wasn't able to catch it. What a sick joke. So I decided to leave and go to the north side, and we ran into Chansey, but it ran away after the first ball. I kid you not, 3 encounters later, we find another one, but the same thing happens. I was slowly losing my mind. All we needed were the more rare encounters, and they were living up to their name. Even Venomoth would run away after the first ball. I swear I was going crazy. I did run into my first Tauros, and it stayed for 2 turns, but it ran away. After that, I gave up for the day and I was left defeated. But I had no choice but to hop back on the next day, where we finally had some luck, and after 8 painful encounters, we got ourselves a Chansey. Now this is super important for our challenge because they have a 5% chance of holding a lucky egg, and that basically means it gives us a boost in our XP by a good amount, making Pokemon that we need to train in order to get evolutions go by way faster. Now it's time to catch as many Chanseys as possible so that we can hopefully get one. And unfortunately, I was only able to catch one. Yeah, laugh as much as you want. It's not that easy, okay? Oh, but I did catch a Venomoth after 7 tries, and this one had no reason for being this hard to find and catch. On the west side, we finally caught a Tauros after being there for about 10 minutes, And if I knew we were gonna catch it here, we would have been here a long time ago. It took about 6 encounters to finally get it. After that, I got curious to see if I had a lucky egg, and watch this. Oh my god, let's go. That is insane. We got it first try. Oh man, that makes training so much easier. Yup, that's right. We got a lucky egg from our first chansey. Let's go. This just made my life way easier. Alright, let's get back to the Safari Zone and get the rest of these Pokemon because I'm feeling lucky. And sure enough, we catch 2 Dratinis and a Dragonair. But it came crashing down because Kangaskhan did not want to stay in the ball. We spent a total of 5 hours in the Safari Zone and I'm tired of this. We'll come back later. Let's leave. We went back to Pallet Town where we can surf to Route 21 and find a Tangela. And once we do that, we fly to Cinnabar Island and head to the Pokemon Mansion. And this is probably one of the most hardest encounters to find that wasn't in the Safari Zone. For some reason, Coughing would not pop up at all. The only one that was easy to get was Grimer, and that's it. We finally ran into Coughing, and as I tried to catch it, it used self-destruct. You know, I forgot it could do that. After looking for another Coughing, I ended up getting a Muck first, but after a while, we catch 2 Coughings. After that, we can finally revive our 2 fossil Pokemon, getting a Kabuto and an Aerodactyl. On Route 23, we can get a Fearow and a Sandshrew. At Victory Road, we catch a Golbat and a Machoke. And I don't know if there's an easier place to find a Primeape, but I could not find one. It took me over 40 encounters before I found one, but hey, at least we got one. So that was the majority of the Pokemon we could catch in the wild, taking about 9 hours and 27 minutes. And with that, let's get some Pokemon we can only get through in-game trade or gifts. Starting off with Lapras, we can get one in Saffron City, and on Route 2, if we give this guy an Abra, he gives us a Mr. Mime. In Cerulean City, if we give this old man a Poliwhirl, he gives us a Jinx, and in Vermilion City, if we talk to this kid and give her a Spearow, she gives us a Farfetch. And if we go to the research lab in Cinnabar Island and give this guy a Raichu, we get an Electroid. This took about 9 minutes or so. I thought I was doing pretty good so far, but of course, I'm not perfect, and I miss a whole bunch of Pokemon. Or Pokemon I gave up on, so now we have to go back and get them, and I am not looking forward to some of these. In Cinnabar Island, well, anywhere with water really, we can get a Tentacool, and I was so shocked when I realized I never got one. At the Seafoam Islands, we get 2 Seals, and back at Pallet Town, we could get a Kingler that took a while to find, and the next Pokemon we need to get is Graveler. The only problem being, you can only get one after you get Rock Smash, and since I never did the post game, I don't have it, so I just got a high level Geodude from Victory Road instead. In Diglett Cave, we find a Doug Trio in like 5 minutes. I'm stressed. I can't believe I ran into it so fast, especially how much I was complaining about it earlier. Next was Kangaskhan, and we ran into it maybe 5 or 6 times and no luck. So I had no choice but to search up how to catch Kangaskhan in Pokémon LeafGreen, and sure enough, here's the strat. We start off with 2 baits and then 2 Safari Balls, and then bait and then 3 Safari Balls, and then bait. And you pretty much repeat that until you catch it. And it worked really well. With that, we go to Island 1 where there's some post game we can do, but let's just pretend it doesn't exist yet and head to Kindle Road where we catch a Ponyta. We stay there for a bit but had 0 luck in finding anything, so we left to Mount Ember where we find Rapidash and Magmar. The cool thing is, right after I caught Rapidash, we found Magmar, so I didn't really have to search for anything. With that, we finally do some post game stuff because we can get a Moonstone, and I'm gonna need that since you can only get 4 of them throughout a playthrough. So Bill asked us to give a meteorite to some dude in Island 2. So we go, and then it turns out his child isn't here yet and he's concerned. So now we have to go to Island 3. But before we do, I head to Cape Brink and get a Persian. Now we can go to Island 3 to find his kid. We run into some grunts, but there were no trouble at all. We head to Bond Bridge where we find a high level Pidgeotto and we catch it, because why not? I'm gonna keep it real, I do not want to train these Pokemon, so if I could find one at a higher level, I will catch it. After that, we go to the Berry Forest where we get a Hypno, and that's it. We find the kid, save her from the creepy Hypno, and then head back to Island 2 where we can finally get our Moonstone. I can't believe I had to do all of that for a Moonstone. Anyways, we go talk to Bill where he tells us we can go back to Kanto if we want, or do some more post-game stuff. But we'll just go back to Kanto. I'll let future me handle that. In total, this took about 2 hours, including the post-game stuff we had to do. After that, I decided to organize my boxes when I realized I'm missing repeats. Bruh, how did I goof so bad? Clearly, someone didn't plan this good enough. Well, to be fair, I thought you could find some of these in the wild, but it's alright. Here's the list. Kakuna, Metapod, Jigglypuff, Abra, Doduo, Nidorino, Rhyhorn, Staryu, Horsey, and Tentacool. The only one I had trouble with was Rhyhorn. It would run away all the time, and it took a couple tries before we caught one. This took about 30 minutes. Okay, for real, and I mean for real. This time we got everything we can get so far, and now we can move on to breeding. So let's go to the daycare and put our Ditto and Hitmonlee in there when I realized something was wrong. Look at this.
Wait, can you not breed? Can you breed in Pokemon LeafGreen? Okay, so we can't do it by normal means. We have to go to Island 4. How do you get to Island 4 in Fire Red?
Why can't it just be something simple? Let's go speedrun this. We get our national dex from Oak, and then we head to Island 1 and head straight to Mount Ember, where we did not find the door that was supposed to be there. I was confused, so I explored a bit and accidentally found Moltres instead. I looked at the video again, and I was supposed to talk to Celio first, so I go and do that and head back to Mount Ember, and this time the door appeared. We fight some grunts to get through. We head inside and wander a bit until we find the ruby that Celio wanted and leave. So we give it to him and he tells us that he needs another stone, but we'll let future me handle that. Anyways, he gives us access to the other islands, so now we can go to Island 4 and start breeding. We start with Eevee getting 3 eggs, Kabuto and Hitmonlee with 1 egg, and Charizard with 2 eggs. And man, they took forever to hatch. I had to go in circles over and over again, and I think this is why I don't shiny hunt. I just don't have the patience for it. But at the end, we got the 3 Eevees, a Kabuto, a Tyrogue, and 2 Charmanders. This took about 2 hours. With that, we can start training all the Pokemon that need evolutions. So I get my lucky egg from Chansey, get my first batch of Pokemon, and head to Victory Road, where I quickly realized this place sucked to train. I faced Onyx and only got 350 XP. I mean, I did forget to put a lucky egg, but that's still way too low. I tough it out and evolve Metapod into Butterfree and start looking for new places to train. Well, nothing a little YouTube can't fix. So I searched out places to train, and one of the spots was the bike trail. So I went and got the bike, cause yes, I never grabbed the bike, okay? I like running more, mostly because he looks a little funny. And I ended up getting the Versus Seeker as well, and now we can really start training these Pokemon. Some of these evolved in no time at all. Kakuna evolved into Beedrill, Pidgeotto evolved into Pidgeot, Abra evolved into a Kadabra. But there was one thing I didn't realize that made training way harder than it should be, but I didn't realize it until way later in our training. And that is, I was playing on set mode the whole time, switch training. So what would end up happening is that the trainers that I had to face usually had more than one Pokemon. So when I was switch training, I would have to send out a whole different Pokemon so that the Pokemon I was training didn't faint from the opponent's moves, because all of them were one-shots. Yeah, I was pretty mad that I didn't figure that out sooner. I just kept thinking, why is switch training harder than usual? So yeah, that's just a reminder for you guys to play on switch mode if you're switch training Pokemon. Okay, back to the video. Tentacool was the first one to take a while before it evolved. It wasn't bad, but since I was on set mode, this felt like forever. But at least the rest wasn't that bad. Geodude turned into Graveler, Seal turned into Dugong, Coughing turned into Wheezing, Tyrogue turned into Hitmonchan, and the cool thing about this one is that I didn't have to give it any type of protein or anything. It just naturally turned into a Hitmonchan, and then Charmander into a Charmeleon. After that, I stopped playing for the day, and at night, I just kept thinking, I'm sure there's a better place to train. So I searched it up and found that a lot of people say that Kindle Road is the best place to train. So I head there the next day, and they do give out a lot of XP. Not only that, I finally put two and two together and realized the reason this is taking so long is because I'm on set mode. So I finally switch it back to normal, and these Pokemon that were giving me a hard time to train became the easiest. The duo turned into a Doug trio, Dratini evolved into Dragonair, Horsey evolved into Seadra, Kabuto evolved into Kabutops, and this particular Pokemon felt so good to evolve. I had a Rhyhorn on my team since like I was facing the bikers, and it took so long that I gave up and just started training other Pokemon. But now that I switch it back to switch mode, it went by so fast. That was weird. It went by so fast. I've never been so mad. I can't believe I didn't think of it sooner. Well, at least we finally got our Rhydon. With that, we only have one more Pokemon to evolve, being Dragonair. We caught this Pokemon at 34 and we have to get it to 55. So we start grinding, and for the most part, the grind wasn't that bad, but it was taking a toll on me because I had been leveling up Pokemon for so many hours. I was so done after I got Dragonair to 47, so there was only one way to do this, and I mean there was only one way. I searched up all rare candy locations for LeafGreen and started collecting them like there was no tomorrow. I got just enough and evolved them into Dragonite, and I can't explain how good it felt to stop training Pokemon. I remembered I stopped playing for the day because it was a day to celebrate. Yeah, I think I just laid down for like an hour or two before I hopped back on. But this took about 7 hours, and when I tell you only 7 hours is crazy because it felt like a good 20 to me. Now that we have evolved everyone that we needed, I can finally get a Pokemon that I haven't mentioned in a while, being Porygon. The main reason why I never got one is because I had no money to my name, and in order to get a Porygon, you have to have money, so that you can play the games at the game corner to essentially get more money. But I suck so bad at those that the only way I was going to be able to do it is by saving up as much money as possible so I could just straight up buy one. Alright, the way that I saved money was by putting an amulet coin on Charizard while I was switch training. We pretty much doubled the money we got after beating each trainer, so by the end we were left with a good amount of money, getting Porygon really easily and still having a lot of money left over. The next thing we gotta do is stone evolutions, so I look in my PC to see how many stones we need, and you could honestly buy most of them at the store except moonstones, so we go on a hunt to find them, and this is how it went. First, I go to Mount Moon, but I got that one already, so I'm guessing that's the one I used for Clefairy, so no problem there. The next location is Team Rocket's hideout, and it seems that we got that one too, but I don't have it in my bag. So that's kinda weird, but let's move on. The next stone is at the Pokemon Mansion, and we were able to find that one, and we also got the Moonstone from the guy in Island 2, so we're missing a Moonstone, and I have no idea where it went or what happened to it. So unfortunately, one of these Pokemon won't evolve, but I'm not mad about it, just confused. The first one we evolved was my shiny Nidorina, and look how cool it looks. And then we got Jigglypuff into a Wigglytuff, Vulpix into Ninetales, Poliwhirl into Poliwrath, Staryu into Starmie, Execute to Executor. I said Executor. Oh, I'm so stupid. Execute into Executor. I did it again. Execute into Executor, Eevee into Flareon, Vaporeon, and Jolteon. And the only one we weren't able to evolve was Nidoking, but who cares? I got a shiny Nidoqueen. That basically counts as Nidoqueen and Nidoking. With that, we can start catching legendary Pokemon, and the first one on the list is Zapdos. This was probably the easiest one to catch. I only had to do it one time, and it took about 20 Ultra Balls and 15 Great Balls, so not bad at all. Next is Articuno, and getting there sucked. This puzzle had me all types of confused, but nothing YouTube can't fix. Now this was definitely something else because Articuno being on 1 HP and paralyzed was not good enough for my 49 Ultra Balls and 35 Great Balls. So I had to try again, but the second time went way easier, only using 46 Ultra Balls to catch it. The last legendary bird we can get is Moltres, and this one just makes me laugh. This bird is something else because it rather struggle itself to death than get caught in 60 Ultra Balls and 20 Great Balls. It was ridiculous. And then when I try again, it only took 25 Ultra Balls. That's crazy to me. With that, we can catch our last legendary Pokemon, Mewtwo. We get to Cerulean City and get to the cave, but it turns out we can't access it yet. And I was so confused, like, I'm done with the game. What else is there to do? So I had no choice but to do a little Google research. And it turns out I gotta beat the post game. Oh, it done bit me in the butt. This is what I get for brushing it off. Oh, man. I guess I'll do that. Let's speedrun it. We head to Island 4, go to Icefall Cave where we run into Lorelei who's fighting off some Team Rocket grunts. So we help her out and it turns out they have Pokemon at their warehouse on Island 5. But you need a password, so we go to Island 6 instead and go to Ruin Valley where we use cut on this door and we go inside where we find a sapphire that Celio needs to work that machine thing he's working on. Where this random dude stole it from us and tells us he's gonna sell it to Team Rocket and then tells us the code to the warehouse for some reason. Interesting, but okay, so we go to the warehouse, solve some puzzles, fight 2 Team Rocket admins, and fight the dude who stole our blue rock. And once we beat him, we get it back where we can finally give it to Celio, making the machine work, completing the post game, so now we can face Mewtwo. Whew, wow, I'm kind of nervous, I'm not gonna lie. This is the last Pokemon we need to complete the Pokédex. All the time and suffering was worth it for this moment. This is how it went. Nah, who am I kidding? I know I didn't save this Master Ball for nothing. I chucked that ball as soon as I see him and we finally complete the Livingdex for Pokemon LeafGreen. Check it out. Yeah, look at all these. Nice, right? Wait a minute. I feel like something's missing. I forgot a Licky Tongue? Are you serious? Ain't that something? The last Pokemon I wanted to get was Mewtwo and it turned out to be this ugly thing. In total, that took 48 hours and 49 minutes. That's including beating the game. If you like this video and want to see more stuff like this in the future, don't forget to subscribe and like the video as it really helps out the channel. And until next time, y'all have a great day. See ya.